Imagine you are walking. No destination, no path, no fence telling you to stop. Just open land stretching in every direction, as far as your eyes can see. You can sleep anywhere, hunt anywhere, drink from any river, gather food from any tree. The entire earth belongs to everyone, and therefore to no one. This was the reality of every human being who ever lived for the first 300,000 years of our existence. Nobody owned the land. Not because they were primitive, not because they were incapable, but because the idea of owning land had not been invented yet. And then, one day, someone picked up a stick, drew a line in the dirt, and said two words that changed human civilization forever. This, mine. Stay with me. This is human theory. To understand how ancient humans turned land into property, we first need to feel what the world was like before that happened. Picture a small band of humans, 20, maybe 30 people, moving across the African savanna. They have no permanent home, no address, no mortgage, no landlord sending angry messages. They follow the animals, follow the rain, follow the seasons. When one area runs low on food, they move. When they find a river full of fish, they stay until the fish are gone. Then they move again. And here is the extraordinary thing. They never argued about who owned the river. Not because they were peaceful saints, not because they had no conflict, but because the idea of one person owning a river was as absurd as the idea of one person owning the sky. You cannot own what you cannot keep. You cannot keep what you cannot carry. And you cannot carry a river. So the river belonged to whoever was drinking from it. The tree belonged to whoever was eating from it. The land belonged to whoever was standing on it. And the moment you walked away, it belonged to someone else. But then something happened. Something so small, so seemingly insignificant that nobody at the time would have recognized it as the beginning of one of the greatest transformations in human history. Someone stayed. Around 12,000 years ago, in a region called the Fertile Crescent, in what is now the Middle East, something extraordinary began. Ancient humans discovered they could grow food instead of just finding it. Plant a seed, water it, wait, and the food comes to you. Now here is where the story gets truly fascinating, because the moment you plant a seed, you make a decision that changes everything. You decide to come back. Not next week, not next month, in 4 months, when the crop is ready. And that decision, that tiny commitment to return, is the birth of ownership. Because now you have a reason to care about this land. You worked this land, you cleared it of rocks, you dug channels to water it, you planted seeds in it, you invested yourself in it. And when you walk away to hunt for the day, and you come back to find someone else eating your crops, for the first time in human history, you feel something brand new. Something your hunter-gatherer ancestors never felt. You feel robbed. Not just hungry, not just angry, robbed. Because something that was yours has been taken. And that feeling, that burning sense of violation, of injustice, is the psychological birth of private property. Long before any law existed, long before any court existed, long before any fence existed, the idea lived first in the feeling. So how did ancient humans communicate ownership before language could fully express it? Before written deeds, before legal contracts, before government records? They used the oldest communication system humans have ever had, the body. Standing in a place signals presence. Presence signals claim. Claim signals ownership. Ancient humans marked territory the way animals mark territory. Physically, visibly, unmistakable, universal language every human instinctively understands. Someone was here. Someone worked here. Someone is coming back. Archaeologists studying early farming settlements have found evidence of exactly these kinds of markers. Boundary stones, ditches dug between fields, walls built not just for protection, but for definition. This is inside, that is outside. This is ours, that is yours. But here is what makes this moment in human history so psychologically extraordinary. The first property disputes were not between strangers. They were between neighbors. People who knew each other, people who had shared food together, people who had helped each other survive. The invention of property didn't just create ownership. It created something that had barely existed before in human social life. Conflict between people who were supposed to be allies. And that conflict needed something the ancient world had never needed before. A solution.
Conflict needs resolution, and resolution needs rules. The earliest written property laws ever discovered come from ancient Mesopotamia. Around 2100 BCE, the Code of Ur-Nammu, the oldest law code known to humanity, contained specific rules about land ownership. Who could own land? What happened when land was disputed? How land could be bought and sold? What happened when someone illegally occupied another person's field? The punishment for that last one? Severe. Because ancient lawmakers understood something psychologically crucial. Property without protection is not property at all. It is just a wish. Then came perhaps the most famous legal document in ancient history, the Code of Hammurabi. Babylon, around 1754 BCE. 282 laws carved into a massive black stone pillar. And a staggering number of those laws were about property. Who owns this house? Who owns this field? What happens when someone damages your property? What happens when a merchant cheats you in a land deal? Ancient Babylon was not just a civilization. It was a civilization obsessed with ownership. But here is the psychological question that historians rarely ask. Why did ancient humans accept these laws? Nobody forced them to believe that a stone pillar with writing on it meant someone owned a field. They chose to believe it. And that choice reveals something profound about human psychology. We are the only species on Earth that can agree that an invisible thing, an idea, a line drawn on paper, makes something belong to someone. A lion does not recognize your property deed, but another human does. Because humans are the only creatures capable of living inside shared stories, shared fictions that we all agree to treat as real. And property was one of the most powerful shared fictions ancient humans ever invented. The invention of private property did not just change how ancient humans related to land, it changed everything. Before property, wealth was temporary. A good harvest fed everyone tonight. Tomorrow, you hunt again. Nobody gets permanently ahead. After property, wealth could accumulate. A good harvest could be stored. A valuable field could be passed down. A large herd could grow larger. And here is where the consequences become deeply uncomfortable. Because accumulated wealth creates something that free-roaming hunter-gatherers almost never experienced: permanent inequality. The family with the better field gets richer every year. The family with the worse field falls further behind every year. And then comes the most powerful consequence of all: inheritance. When a landowner dies, the land does not return to everyone. It goes to the children, who did nothing to earn it, who were simply born into the right family. Sound familiar? Because this system, invented by ancient farmers 12,000 years ago, is still the primary way wealth transfers between generations in almost every society on Earth today. The children of wealthy parents inherit property. The children of poor parents inherit nothing. We did not invent this system recently. We inherited it from the first human beings who ever drew a line in the dirt and said, "This is mine." Here is perhaps the most extraordinary thing about the invention of property. It does not just exist in laws. It does not just exist in deeds. It exists inside your brain. Psychologists have documented something called the endowment effect. The moment you own something, your brain assigns it significantly more value than it had before you owned it. Studies show that people demand roughly twice as much money to give up something they own as they would pay to acquire that same thing in the first place. Ownership changes perception. And this psychological effect is not a modern quirk. It's ancient. Researchers believe the endowment effect evolved precisely because our ancestor farmers who defended their land and resources aggressively survived better than those who didn't. Your brain was literally shaped by thousands of years of humans who fought for what was theirs. Which means property is not just a social invention, it's a biological one. The line that ancient human drew in the dirt 12,000 years ago is still being drawn inside your mind.
12,000 years ago, an ancient human knelt down, picked up a stick and drew a line in the dirt. They did not know they were changing civilization. They did not know they were inventing inequality, inheritance, law, war, wealth, poverty, power. They just knew that they had worked this land, that they had invested themselves into this soil, that they were coming back and they wanted the world to know it. That line in the dirt became a boundary stone, then a legal deed, then a title document, then a digital record in a government database. But it is still the same line, still saying the same ancient human language that every person on Earth instinctively understands. This, mine. This is human theory. If this changed how you think about the ground beneath your feet, share it with someone who needs to hear this story.